Welcome to another episode of the Angels Positivity and Love Show. Incredible guests the world over with amazing experiences, skill sets helping all of us, and much more. Experiences usually that they're happy to share on air. We've got a really wide assortment of guests over the years. We're booked into currently January of 2027, 375 shows. That's not counting the APL Spotlight Series, where you just have really even more exciting guests come back on and play a little bit and explain stuff to us. And then we have Mind, Body, Spirit panels as well. Always takes three guests for the most part to make those happen, 90 minutes or so. Be sure to check those out. And then we also have visits from angels. We have balls of light flying by, or shapes, and more. And that's about a dozen or 2 dozen guests. So you could be surprised while watching. And we always encourage you to participate. Towards the end of the show, most of our guests, and they've certainly off air taken some steps, at least catch a little bit of sage or do something else. So you're encouraged to just be in your heart and let these guests guide you to more. And hopefully that is more love, more fun, and even more laughs. Today, coming back to us, Margaret Ann Lembo, Boynton Beach, Florida, spiritual entrepreneur, spiritual veteran, prolific author. In 2027, she's got a 12-book series that drops through Llewellyn, who's published most of her stuff. She's got 7 decks. Crystal Gardens is a shop for just obviously crystals, but many other things, incense and everything else. She's run that in Boynton Beach for a long time. She's wonderful, seasoned, and let's get her talking right now. Great to see you again, Margaret.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me again. I think this is my third visit.
I think so. You're always a delight. We'll keep having you back as long as you can do it.
Oh, you're
And
so kind.
you know a lot. You've been through a lot. You've also traveled a lot. Where would you want to start for maybe the big picture for mankind right now? You have a very grounded approach to everything, and so you might be just the right person to ask. Is mankind going through a little bit of a shift in terms of there's a higher frequency coming in? It's an opportunity for growth for most of us, more compassion, kindness. What are you seeing?
Well, that's up to each and every single one of us, obviously, as you well know. But I think that sometimes the pendulum has to swing to a extreme to balance things out. Like even in our own personal lives, sometimes things are really fantastic and times things go down into the dregs. And I feel like we're kind of in the dregs right now as a worldwide, globally. And I hope it's preparing us for more kindness and compassion. I think that it is because I'm eternally optimistic. So that's my take on it. And so with continued prayer and focus on what is good, hopefully that can bring everything back into balance.
And you talk to your guides, you're pretty connected, whether it's angels or other loving beings. Can you describe that connection for us and maybe how it's shifted over the years? Are there certain figures today that you talk to daily or you turn to for specific types of question, business versus personal, or how to have more fun? Good luck with that with all the writing you've been doing for so long.
I know. Almost time to have more fun. I'm almost done with the 12th book. So, I have a very strong connection with Mother Mary. Um, she is primarily my go-to energy. All the archangels. I don't actually, though, have specific conversations. It's sort of like a collective vibration for me. And so, what's shifted over the years is I'm not seeking for that as much as it drops into my consciousness, which is very nice. It's very convenient to do that. And that's what's shifted. So now things drop in and I get like book titles or something that I know this is your like kind of like this is your next assignment.
Hmm.
So that's how things have changed. I would say in the last 10 years, that's been more consistent. And often the title I come to a publisher with is the title that they end up using, which is not often the case.
Yeah, that's a long shot. So
It
congratulations.
is.
Uh,
Thank you.
So also throw in a little detail. Is it in the shower, walking the dog, just sitting and relaxing? Is it in the garden, or as you get out of the car to go into the shop? When do you get hit most with some of the creative ideas?
The most of the time is waking up in the morning, something's in my consciousness, and in the shower. Those two. I don't have a puppy dog yet, so that's not an option. But
Yet
I do
is the key
spend a lot
word.
of time. I do spend a lot of, yes, yeah, it is the key word. I do spend a lot of time in my garden. That's what I do. Like when I often, while I'm writing, I might get to a point where it's like, okay, I can't write another second. I'm gonna go and do something. And my do something usually is to go out in my garden, pull a few weeds, pick a few tomatoes or whatever. It's not tomato season now, but the idea is to spend time in nature. And then usually when I come back in after I stop being so hot, I do can get right back into it, and it helps me shift back into writing again for another hour or two, because sitting for too long is also not the favorite thing of mine either.
Um, when you're in the shower, have you ever thought about getting the string tape and having a dry erase board on the dry side of the shower so when it happens, or do you have a steel trap and can remember stuff no problem?
I can remember it like drops in and that's it. I can't let it go. Oh, so often this is really cool. I'll tell you a quick story about when I got my blend for prosperity mist. So this is how it happens often. So this one day I was making my breakfast in my kitchen, and I think it was eggs or whatever, and I hear basil, bay, bergamot, basil, bay, bergamot, and it's just repeating over and over, almost like in my mind I could see like these little cute angels waving those pom-pom things. I don't know what they're called, you know. And so I'm like, okay, I turn off the eggs. I go into my office right here. And I pull out my bottles of basil, bay, and bergamot, and using my aromatherapy knowledge as an aromatherapist, I put that together. But I think I'm thinking to myself, hmm, I wonder what this is, because I didn't know it was prosperity mist. And I wonder what else I'm supposed to add to it. And I hear what I hear, because a lot of times my intuitive sense is clairaudience. I hear, you know how to make the rest. This is your prosperity mist, your next spray to launch. And so then I did. I thought about it and I added other ingredients, which I will not share. And it became prosperity mist. And I love when things jump in like that. That is my favorite. Is like I hear it and I do it.
For your books, when you
Yes.
look at your writing, which it may not be very often, there's some authors who don't want to go back and look at their stuff. Um, do you recognize it as your writing, or is it absolutely the answer is yes? Or is it more like, nah, after a few years have gone by, I'm kind of marveling over it myself. I don't know how it really came to this. I get it. I was involved, but it definitely came from above. How do you like to view different books that you've done?
So, like my first book, Chakra Awakening, that was an interesting experience because it was my first time in the publishing world. So that took a lot of understanding about how even though I had done so much research and read every book you could about how to get published and this, that, and the other. So what happened with that one was I had spent years writing articles for my newsletters at the Crystal Garden. And that was back when we used to mail out newsletters in the mail, and people would come in with their newsletter and say, I want to read more. Which book is yours over here? Because I'm a bookstore. And I'm like, oh, I haven't written a book. It's like, oh, okay. But it happened enough times that they wanted to read the rest of my work that I thought, okay, well, maybe I should figure this out. And so I did. I got an editor who actually came to my house. She's somebody here locally, and taught me about how to redevelop work and how to put it together. And that was the beginning. So that was more, it wasn't so much, that wasn't so much of a download as what much as a very important learning experience, and how to write, how to be a writer, and how to pull information together that you want to share. Because mine is really about the power of positive thought. I mean, I may be disguised, if you will, disguised with crystals and aromatherapy and Bach flower essences and all that. But it really is using the power of positive thought to create reality and to have a happy life.
Mm. Powerful message there. Okay, tell us a little bit more. You've given us some on your other appearances, you've given us some examples of where angels stepped in. Do you have a fresh example? It could have been dream time, a lucid dream, a trip, not the sailing example. You gave us a great sailboat example
That
a
was a
couple
good
episodes.
one.
Yeah. And people should go back. The links to the other appearances will be below this video. And be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Your actions there help others discover Margaret, her books, but also the show and all the other amazing guests. and an emoji counts if you're shy. Okay, Margaret, share one of those. You've had a lot of experiences, and if you want to even take a moment and ask your crew to flash something to you with your eyes closed that was an actual angel in human form, and you didn't realize it right now, that's another way to go on this. You could close your eyes, they'll show you a situation, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't
I
know
already
that was an
have
angel.
it. I
Okay,
don't even
good.
have to close my eyes, but I don't know if I told you this one though. Did I tell you? This isn't recent though. This is a long, long time ago.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's still good.
Yeah.
I'm playing with you a little
Oh,
bit.
okay. All right. I'm very literal.
So, did I tell you the story about being caught in a riptide? Went to go grab my
Oh,
father.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, if
And
I
that
already
was a
told
good
you.
angel story. Okay, but
That
you've
was a
got
good answer.
others. Yeah.
Do I have others? Not recent. I don't know if I have anything recent. I'm trying to think of if there's something that felt like so obvious to me. Maybe because it's very normal for me now.
Do you have balls of light flying by both how do I do this? Within your vision, but also externally, or light movement, or are you seeing more right now? Do you feel like the veil's getting a little thinner compared to 10 or 20 years ago? Why don't you share a little bit more on the sensory front? How or what is expanding? What have you noticed?
What I've noticed, well, I'm also going to speak to this as from a standpoint also of an owner of a bookstore and spiritual center. So not just an author, which is not just a just, but so what so what I've noticed, and it's been this way for quite a while, but there's been many people that come in very disturbed, very challenged. They're either grieving, they just had a breakup, they might have lost somebody, or they just don't know how to deal with life at all. And so what I done, this is kind of a fun and silly thing I do to help some. I'll give it a very specific example. So this one girl was in the hallway. We have a wall of bracelets, a whole long wall, a hallway full of bracelets. And she's standing in front of the bracelets, but I could tell she was very disturbed. And I said to her, are you okay? And she's like starting to cry and she says, no. And so I what I got to do, and I've done this over the years from time to time, is I said, are you okay if we do the hokey pokey? And she said, I guess. I mean, I said, really, just humor me. I said, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take you by your shoulders and I'm going to turn you around. And once you go all the way around, when you come back the other side, you're going to feel so much better. Can you believe that? And she's like, okay. And so I think she was so like, what is she doing? But you know what? She comes in now and I say, you're hokey pokey. And she is so much better. Her life literally changed that particular day.
Hmm.
She told me it literally that day, everything shifted and it's been so much better ever since then. I don't know if that even answered what you were asking me, but
It's good. Let's pick one of the classic situations a person's in. There's usually like 3 to 10 that are the most classic. One is not enough money, job situation or career, or just looking for a job, family situations or health, or just not feeling like you've got enough excitement, you're trapped, you're doing the routine. Which one
Mhm.
would you want to pick? And what's just basic suggestions would you have? First thing in the morning, at night, in between?
I apologize. I thought I silenced that.
Oh,
Yeah,
we didn't hear anything at this end. You're good.
excellent. Good. Very good. And so the final part of that, I got distracted with the sound of my
Oh,
side. I
just what
apologize.
advice would you have if you want to pick one of those classic situations a person's in? What's some either basic advice or patented Margaret Ann Lembo advice that you would want to give to the audience member out there who's in a pickle, in a pinch, in a bind?
My one of my most important belief systems or things to share with people is whatever you believe is going to create your reality. So if you believe you are stuck, if you believe you are financially challenged, even though it may appear like that in this moment, even if you have to make believe for a little while, the moment you start visualizing and imagining, and of course, taking the actions and the steps to make a change, It really will. And so there's always hope, there's always help, there's always some way that you can overcome this. And sometimes things have to drop out and become, like I mentioned, the pendulum swing. Sometimes we have to go to the depths.
Mm,
If that didn't happen to me, the Crystal Garden wouldn't exist. I was in senior management in the mortgage banking industry when the market crashed. And
mm,
if that didn't happen, I mean, I wouldn't have opened my store in the meantime for 38 years. You know what I mean?
yes.
So that, and sometimes I tell them that story too. I was in my sweatpants on my couch for a good month-ish, while I, cried through my, challenge. And then the old phoenix rises from the ashes and comes out even better. And you just didn't know that there was something better on the other side until you work through it and let yourself experience life and the support. But the power of positive thought gets you through. That's the part that I think is very, very important, even if at first it feels fake to people.
Mm. Okay, October, I think 1987, that crash you referenced, yes?
That is, it was
I was
it was
I was
market
sitting in an
crash.
economics class in an auditorium. Usually we're in a smaller classroom, but the economics professor brought us to well, I can't even remember the name of the place, but they used to premiere films there and stuff up in college, Middlebury, Vermont. But I was next to a wealthy, I can't really say the name, but one of the top Australian families had a son who was still in college with me, and he's all crying. The family's lost like a third of their fortune in the market, whatever. So the bottom line, and I'm sympathetic to that. I'm just saying, the details were very specific to him. We were barely knowing that the market had even started to drop or that it was the biggest thing ever back then. Okay, let's get back to visualization. If you pick bank account or job stuff, what would be one specific detail if you had to paint the canvas a little, help anchor someone in who's like, okay, I've heard visualization 100 times. Give a practical basic way to visualize something so the person can repeat
Mhm.
it, and how they should repeat it. Is it in the shower, walking the dog, but don't hit the fire hydrant, not while
Yeah.
driving? Explain just a little more on that front.
Well, actually, while driving can work. You don't have to close your eyes. So a combination of things. So one thing I want to bring up in conjunction with this is gratitude, is the power of being so grateful for everything that you already have is extremely strong foundation for coming out the other side. So whether it's being grateful that you have a working fridge or running water, flushing toilets, you actually have gas in your car right now, everything's okay. You would like in this moment, all is well. Hopefully everybody is at least at that point at the moment that challenges come along. Now, visualizing, back in the day, it used to be like writing a check. Now we don't really write checks anymore. So would be maybe visualizing yourself pulling up your account online, opening your bank account, looking at it. And instead of the number that might be in there and the numbers that might be in the savings account, or is there even a savings account? And if there's not, imagining that you're opening a savings account and that you somehow find the minimum and that you start the process and that every week you imagine, okay, I now have an extra $10, even though it seems like such a small amount, I'm going to put that into my savings account. And then you visualize the balance growing and adding zeros on the end. I'm sure you've heard the story of, I think it was Jim Carrey, that great, he's very funny comedian, and he's a movie star. And back a long time ago, before he was famous and making tons of money, he had written himself a check for, I think it was $1 million, and that in the remittance section, I think he put something like, for my first successful film or something, along those lines. He did it tangibly. So if you still have a checking checkbook out there, do it something that's tangible where you actually write, because that worked for him and it works for so many people, like taking these steps to do certain things. Because we can visualize until the cows come home, but you have to still take the action. You always have to take action.
Okay, next question. Meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercises, call it taking a nap. How do we slow down during the day? What's another bit of advice you have for folks?
My favorite is to breathe into the count of four, observe the place between the in breath and the out breath, and then exhale to the count of eight, which the at first doesn't work right away. Like it takes practice, but in that practice of focusing on the breath, whether it's to the count of three and the count of six or whatever it is that you do, what that does is you're no longer thinking about your troubles, you're no longer thinking about other things. Right now you're just in the present moment, and that being in present moment and grounded is what often can allow for everything else to fall in. If we're just have a repetitive thing going on that's negative over and over and over again, notice what that looks like when I go like this. It makes you like a little cuckoo for cocoa puffs. Then once you can calm the thoughts and you no longer have to constantly think and you're just focusing on that in breath and out breath, then everything else falls into place and you're like, okay, everything's going to be okay.
I'm pivoting on the next question. Have you been shown a slight pivot for yourself in terms of you already do what you do very successfully, but have you been shown like new fields to kind of go plow or new healing
Huh.
modalities to pick up that you're like, come on, I've already got a full
No,
plate.
no,
Have you been
no,
shown
no.
stuff? Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny that to plow, you said plow.
Okay.
I really want to develop a food forest right here in my front yard, my garden. I have a decent amount of land. So, and it's happening. That's what my intention is. I have raised bed gardens. Now, this isn't to financially do anything. This is just for happiness and joy. And when I have plenty of produce and when I have plenty of food, I happily share it with neighbors and friends and my people that work with me at my store. And so, if the mango tree is producing, yay. If the fig tree is producing, yay. If I have a lot of lettuce, okay. So that's my new, I wouldn't call it new because I've been gardening since I've been young, but my focus has gone there a lot. And that is what I do in between writing too. This is to enjoy time out there, except it's really hot out there right now.
Yeah, but there's ways around that. And this may be a little bit like either if it's Findhorn, Findhorn in Scotland, when their vegetables were like the size of, a cucumber was the size of 10 cucumbers, the way they were rolling
Yes.
60s, I think 70s. But
Yes.
also there's Etsuo Asano in Japan, most sought
Oh,
after vegetable grower for all the restaurants. If you want top-notch produce, the best, you go to him.
wow.
Here's a
Huh.
quote from him. And let's see, I'll give you a couple different quotes, maybe Winnie the Pooh thrown in. Let's get a reaction from one of these quotes. One will be from Gary Zukav. I love giving quotes from Seed of the Soul. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Here's Etsuo Asano. Never pretend to understand. Constantly remind yourself that you don't know what's going on, and the vegetables will help you understand them. That's the
That's cool.
first quote. Now, here's the next one. It's animal related, Winnie the Pooh. Some people talk to animals, not many listen, though. That's the problem. Winnie the Pooh. And I'll add, and that's the opportunity for growth for us all. And then
Hmm.
here's the last one, Gary Zukav. We'll see what comes of this. You might focus on one quote, all of them, or just something in a whole different direction. You change the way that you shape the light, which is flowing through you by changing your consciousness. Gary Zukav, Seed of the Soul. What jumped out at you? What do you want to react to here?
I want to react to that change in the light that comes through you. I like that last quote and how you let energy flow through you, how you approach other people, how you let yourself be seen in the world, and how you can be more empathetic and kind and tolerant, and how much that really, really helps others that normally you wouldn't, have that opportunity to get that help. Not
Well,
they wouldn't have the opportunity to get that help. Did I just make sense?
you did, but let's have you drill down a little bit more for you're one giant antenna in a way. Talk to us about how either it's shifted over the years, the decades, how you take in that light, or how you're appreciating it more, how you're allowing more. Or if you want to talk about like in the last 5 years, 3 years, 3 months, what have you had to let go of and you've noticed just, oh my God, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'm walking an even smoother path. And I'll quote Cynthia Sue Larson, who's been a guest 3 times as well. She always does that mantra or reminder, how good can it get? And I really like that. It stands out for a while. So somewhere in there, what could you share about the own, it's universal light or Christ consciousness or whatever you want to call it, angelic light flowing through you, love, universal love. What have you noticed over the years?
What I've noticed, well, I think some of it has to do with, becoming an older person. I will say that. Experience does change things. So part of it of what's changed is I find I'm much more tolerant than I used to be. I don't get as like insulted when customers are challenged because I'm referring to my at my store and not take it at I try not to take things personally anymore. That's what I think has shifted a lot is it's not, it's not necessarily my issue. And so therefore just be empathetic instead of challenged by situations. I'm
And
not sure if that's what you were asking.
it does, but how do we put you to work if you're a gymnast right now with all your senses? Can we light a little sage here in Texas, blow to you in Florida? But I'll challenge you to instead of just linear sage, like obviously catch the sage through two screens. And if the audience is wondering, we do it a lot on the show. I forget just as much, but why settle for sage when you can have the smell of flowers? You're already on the ocean, so a different ocean, the Gulf, Pacific, Bora Bora, Seychelles, Nantucket, Rehoboth, whatever that other beach is that you're like, gosh, I really wish I was there this weekend. You're in a great spot as it is. I love that area.
It is.
Okay,
I am.
here's the sage, and you may get visual, you may get glitter, and you won't have to vacuum tomorrow. Let angels do something extra for you, and at home, if you need extra help, the only rule I've got is set your intent. So ask angels to make it nice if you like the word universe and angels. Ask them to get you out of your head into your heart, and it's the Zen thing.
Hmm.
Smelling without smelling, or your heart's doing the smelling. It doesn't have to make sense to do it. Okay, red-tailed hawk feather, the rainbow shell abalone, and some sage, juniper ridge sage from California. Very consistent in the Whole Foods stores, I think. Are you already getting the sage a long time ago?
Well, I was wishing I had some sage over here. I would have done it back to you.
Ooh,
I feel the energy. Of course, yes, of
okay.
course.
And did you get
Beautiful.
anything extra from the crew?
I didn't necessarily, to be honest with you. When you said Whole Foods, it made me um it made me think about like business stuff because I do sell some of my products at the Whole
Oh,
Foods here in Florida. So it's like, so I kind of distracted myself. I'm sorry.
oh no, no worries.
Maybe that's a sign though. Maybe there's something about the Whole Foods comment that I need to pay attention to. So maybe that's where the message is for me personally.
And I drilled in on just the reality thing you talked about before. Whatever you believe becomes your reality, and you firmly believe in that.
I
So
do.
I've thrown this out to about 40 guests in the last 9 months or so. And every guest has a little bit of a different take, although some are rowing in the same direction. There are three examples I want to give you and have you tie them together somehow in whatever way it fits. One is, there's a remote viewer, Elizabeth April on Instagram, who's very intuitive and very popular and been on a lot of shows and stuff like that. She shared a moment where there's another adult there with her child who must be under 6 who can count to 10. And she puts a marble in her child's hand. And, the child says out loud, one, second marble, two, third marble, three, fourth marble, four, fifth marble. The adults see it go in. Child says four, stays on four, opens the hand, I believe, four marbles. So the child was like, I'm not going to five. I like four. And so that is the end of that story. The second data point is I think Celestine Prophecy, the movie we just had Barnett Bain on, Hollywood film director. He did What Dreams May Come. He did Eckhart
Mm.
Tolle's Milton's Secret with Donald Sutherland and Mia Kushner. But he was like the second or third guy on the Celestine Prophecy movie. They do Showing Light this way and India this way. And as Sue Frederick said, hey, we were doing it this way before the movie existed. But there's another scene in the movie. I think it's Edward James Olmos, the guy from Miami Vice, the police chief actor. He's leading a group of people being chased by soldiers in the Colombian jungle or some Latin American jungle. They raise their vibe and go invisible, and the soldiers literally pass within inches. And we'll cut that off there. So they raised their vibe and they disappeared. And for a brief moment, one of them wavered, had fear, and got everybody caught. But we'll skip that part. The third one is Cynthia Sue Larson. She has a newsletter, and a couple wrote in. The husband, they're very high vibe at home. The husband still got into an accident. Paramedics had to stabilize. I don't know if he needs stitches or whatever, but they know the ER room they're headed to is busy 24/7. Every stall is filled. Paramedics are great, great ambassadors for the experience. They get there, two nurses, great ambassadors, but every stall is empty for them. They're there for like 3 or 4 hours. The place is empty. He gets stitched up or whatever. They go, come and go. in 3 to 4 hours. They don't see anybody, but the nurses are acting like the place is packed. It is packed. So split in reality, and this is right to the point of, how you roll is your frequencies, your vibe, and what you experience. How do all three of these somehow relate together? We're asking the most sophisticated question ever. But is it really everyone's on a different wavelength and you can have micro splits or different experiences depending on which way you're rolling?
What you just said. It will
Oh, yeah,
definitely
yeah,
be.
but we got to get you talking more. This is
No, no,
something where
no,
we're
but
drawing
no,
on
but
your wisdom.
really.
Yeah, but
No,
tell
but
us, have you had one of
because
those experiences?
it's hard to know if other people are experiencing something different though.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
how
yeah,
do you
yeah, yeah.
know? So I guess yes, because I guess there have been situations, and I can't think of a very specific one for you. I wish I could, where it's like somebody will say, that was terrible, and blah, 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 and they'll go on, and I'll be like, I thought it was beautiful and I had a fabulous time. When I don't say anything because I don't want to make them feel badly, but it makes me realize the view that we have, the filters that we keep on how we see things changes. And so if we have a more often we're going into something with positive energy, and I would say my experience has been more often than not it's going to be very positive, and it may be an empty ER, or it may be that when you walk into the Verizon, they're very, very nice, and then you get a new phone and you weren't
Yep.
expecting that, or whatever it is. Like it will evolve in a very positive way, where this somebody else with a different mindset and has a totally different belief system will have a terrible experience because that's how they believe where life is.
Well, let's go back to the first question of the interview, which is a lot of complexity going on, whether it's the upset, disgruntled guest who comes in, the customer to your store, or it's on the world stage. For some reason, we're picking fights where doesn't need to be a fight going on, and there should be world peace. Um, is that really hitting you not hard, but hitting you in a patience way? You've got a greater amount of patience and you use it as an opportunity to remind yourself of that peace, that calm, the love, and so on. It seems like you're there for letting anything that would upset others and then finish the rest of that if you could.
Most of the time, there are things happening on the world stage that I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How is this even possible? That's how what I have to remind myself is all things change. Nothing, that's the only constant in life. Everything changes. So it has to change. When? That's the part that the patience level has to come in. And so that part I don't I don't know if I have a good answer to that.
Do you feel like all the complexity in its own right is sort of revealing itself? How do I do this? Uh, it's a form of unwinding of a complex situation to make things simpler. Like pretend a bank robber's done so many banks and is talking about it so much, they're giving themselves up over time. Do you feel like it's some of that? More transparency is happening? People are
Probably
showing
because I've
us who they
actually
are.
been in a bank robbery where I was a teller in a bank robbery, and the FBI knew that they were going to be coming, so we were ready. Although you're never ready for somebody, with a sawed-off shotgun and somebody that jumps over the. It was before plexiglass, before they had the separators. So yeah, so that was pretty intense. But they did get caught the next bank robbery because they were tracking them. But that isn't what you were talking about, was it?
Mm-mm. Well,
But I
let me do
there
this.
is there is there is something relative there.
The photos of angels in light energy form. I've got Gabriel in the middle of the oval, looks like a football. Michael round. You're already tight with all these folks, and four
Yeah.
rainbow pie slices that are. Always have to hold up the map. The map is this for those guys. I can never keep track of who's who. Uriel at the front, Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, and then Michael. But so
Mhm.
whichever one is your favorite, or all the above, or just closing your eyes. But could you have archangels come in, whether it's one, seven of them, and just do a message for humanity, what you're getting? I even have one that was over my house. This is like 14 years ago, and it's Metatron's in there as well. I literally was sitting on a couch at nighttime, and I hear, "Go grab the Sure Shot camera." Thank God I didn't like say why. I just did
Mhm.
it and shot over the house, and this is the photo I got. Archangels in the front, Metatron in the back. But do you mind doing listening for all of us? And what do you get as a reminder to how to walk a smoother path, more love, show love always, or just breathe? What are you getting from the group?
Mhm. The power of your legion of angels that are available to you is immense. And it is important to actually ask for what you need, the support you need, the help you need, the guidance you need, to be literal when you're working with the archangels. The only, and this is like a kind of a lesson in working with the angelic realm, which many people probably know, but I want to remind that the only way that archangels, in my belief system, the only way that they can really intercede, intervene, is to be specific and ask. So we have this powerful entourage constantly available to help in so many ways, from the minutia to the profound. So it's about thinking loudly, praying loudly, letting yourself stay focused and focused on your heart, and be in love, be in the love vibration, and then things just fall into place, along with the action that you have to take as a human being on this planet. Because as always, we have free will. That's why the angelic realm can't do without us saying and expressing, whether you write a little note to them and you take your pen and write a little note, or you pray it out loud, or you think it loudly and visualize that you have this entourage that's ready to support and help.
And talk to us a little bit about how people can get more time with you. Is it online these days, a Zoom room that you do monthly? Is it come into the shop on Tuesdays? You sit there at 2 o'clock for 1 hour. You limit everybody to 10 minutes each because you've gone a little more one-on-one even. Or do you do hands-on healing yet? You used to, never again. It's more books. Talk to us about the ebb and flow of all this or just the expansion. And that was an earlier question. If it was 2032, what could you see yourself doing that you haven't been doing, that you've gotten a little hint from above you might be doing?
Hmm. Okay, I'm going to answer the first part first because I don't know what I'm going to do in 2032 yet. But the ebb and flow has been, I used to do a lot of hands-on healing. I used to do even a lot of crystal alignment work, and I do a lot of courses. And now, because I have to also take care of myself and the store and write all these books, I don't do as many events, and I don't do one-on-one sessions. It's very rare. It's very rare. But like, I still love to do, for example, the drumming circles. There's one this Sunday at the store. That doesn't translate over Zoom. It does too loud. It doesn't work. Singing bowl events is something else. I love to do sound baths, and those are usually at all the equinoxes and solstices to bring in the new, the new season. But a lot of the work I do is in smaller groups. So past life regressions that coming up, even cord cutting ceremonies, and also classes to experience having a more of your intuition. So we have develop your intuition courses, and they practice with billets and doing psychometry with jewelry and just telepathy even. And so it's a way to practice. So I am at the store on Tuesdays. It's very cool that you're tuned in to know I'm on the store. So people do come in knowing my days. I do work at my store usually Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then the other 3 days are for writing and taking care of myself and gardening, etc. And so people do come in on those days purposefully. Maybe they want a Margaret hug, or maybe they have to ask me a question. And so I do spend time with people that way. It's not like, nope, sorry, you have to make a session and I'm not gonna tell you anything. No, I spend time with them and right there in the store, and
So,
we talk. I go in another little room to
yeah.
kind of make it a little bit more private, but maybe 5, 10 time, minute thing to help people in their life.
So people, I mean, Florida's a popular spot, especially the strip that you're on, from Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale, so Deerfield Beach, Delray. It is not much of a drive to come find you, see you. And so anybody watching this, put this into your travel itinerary. Okay, very last interactive thing, and maybe we will, maybe we won't, but a piece of selenite, a block, a point, a wand. You're the expert. What is this shape? What?
That is just, it's just a point. They
It's a
just
point.
shape.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just like,
I'm trying to take me out of it, but if you want to have all the selenite consciousness on the planet, we've had a lot of guests, scores of guests do this.
yeah.
You can have suddenly a lot of selenite consciousness come into the room there. It was a male voice last year. It's been a female voice lately. You can privately get a little few words from all the global slipstream of selenite here. Catch a few words, but if you want to go cray cray on air, you can get a sound bowl concert physically around you as well of selenite. Um, and just allow, no try Yoda. I'm going to do Yoda's voice and definitely block myself out here so I don't get embarrassed. But if I crack you up with Yoda's voice, maybe we'll let a little extra come in. So, mm, do, do not. There is no try. Okay, I earned my keep here. Did you get anything extra? Did you feel it, smell something? Did you hear a voice come in? Did you hear sound bowls? What'd you get with the selenite?
I just think about how selenite brings so much more light into everybody's life. You're
Okay.
funny. You're a funny, funny man. I
I tap
love.
dance. I got the cane and
Do
those tap
you?
shoes, even
You have a
though
little a top hat and
whatever it
da da
takes to try
da
to exactly. Okay,
da.
we'll round this up with a new. You've never used this as advice to anybody out there. We don't make this show very easy, do we? A mantra or a reminder you would leave people with that it's almost like clicking your heels 3 times as Dorothy. You can get home again, but it's the Zen home. It's your heart. So, what phrase would you want to say a few times for us that is just a wonderful phrase? You find it clears the decks, reminds people to breathe more or just be in the heart more. What's a new phrase? You might not have used it for a long time. We're challenging you here. This is not easy.
I don't know if I have a new one.
Okay, you can fall back to an old one.
I,
That's fine. But oh,
I
you might have given it
my
on the other show.
I might have though. So if you watch the other shows, you get repetition. So my favorite is I am love.
Ooh.
All that is attracted to me and all that surrounds me is love. So we'll do that again. I like the way you took a deep breath. Another time is just so I can also say it this way for you, which is you are love and all that is attracted to you and all that surrounds you is love. And I've done that even in my car when there's been traffic, and I just focus on I am love. All that is attracted to me and all that surrounds me is love. And then all of a sudden, I-95 opens up. You know what I mean? It's just a very powerful statement. And I don't think that's not new, though. I'm sorry, Michael.
Oh, it's okay. But you're still not off the hook. You're going to close out the show. You've done a lot of shows as a guest. You've done a lot of speaking and a lot of other stuff, appearances and stuff. So in a moment, like in 45 seconds, you're going to close this out. But I'm going to read a passage from Angels. And then I'm going to blow some energy your way. It'll look like I'm cheating at ping pong 2 paddles, or I'm a swan or a goose. And it'll be Angel Light. Don't blame me. Don't blame Angels. Don't blame Canada if you know South Park. Okay. Here's the passage from Angels, and hopefully this resonates and will get you inspired for your closing. But I'm going to blow a couple times first. Belief is power, which is totally you. Belief is power. Letting go is power. Catching your thoughts before you accept them as fact is power. Embrace the opportunity to explore yourself, others, and the world around you as it really is. This is power. Unconditional love is shiny, infinite, and already within you. And that was the inspirational talk from Angels. I definitely didn't come up with that. Okay, here comes a whoosh, baseline whoosh. You might just get one single goosebump. You might get a wind in the room, yummy in the tummy. Who knows? Are you ready, Margaret in Florida?
I'm ready. I
Okay,
am so ready.
here it comes, but no Yoda voice. I'll choke if I'm trying to inhale and do that at the same time. Here we go. Did you get a little energy?
Definitely got energy. I definitely got energy.
Okay, one more
Got
time, but
energy. I love that. I love how enthusiastic and how heartfelt you are, Michael. It's so profound.
I'm enthusiasm for sure. If I passed today, I'd be a little orange bubble in your living room or office. And there's a what do we call them? Beings of light, light being, a light being named Grace who's enthusiasm. There's an angel named Grace who's rainbow light and grace. I'm not knocking it. Wonderful position to be in, but the light being named Grace is enthusiasm. She's one of my favorite light beings. You can't beat it. It's oftentimes you get smushed though if you're too enthusiastic. In American society, it's not always welcome. Uh, but you got to just keep taking one step forward at a time. With that, here comes another whoosh. If people want to allow for more, choose an area of your life where you could use a little wind in your sails. We're buying you time. You're going to give us a beautiful closing speech about how to
Mm.
walk a smoother path. This is your inspirational side yourself. But here comes that whoosh. Was it different?
A little bit, but it was still similar. There's this just like you have a very strong feeling of wanting to help as many people as possible as fast as you can. It's almost like you have
I'm at
this like
15 years and it's not crickets chirping. I created the show. It does exist. So it's very
yeah.
slow moving. Angels keep telling me it's on its way. It's coming. It's growing.
Hmm.
I'm like a piece of fruit and jello a little bit. But they keep swearing that it's expanding soon, soon. So I'm a little
Well,
like,
I think you're reaching a lot of people. I think whoever's supposed to receive your goodness is receiving it. No doubt. I
okay,
know.
but now I'm off the hook. My job is done here.
Am
I
I
just say
like maybe
thank you
can I
very
read
much.
out of a book or something?
No,
Or can I
I
pull
don't
a
know.
card?
I think you can do this. You've been around the block. You've got a lot of
I
experience. You've written a
know,
lot
but
of
what are
books,
we?
decks.
Well, I'll pull a card to get
Pull a
inspiration.
card. There we go. That's
So I'm
it.
pulling from here. I might as well do a plug here. I'm pulling from the Essential Oils and Gemstone Guardians cards. Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
All right. Comes with a little booklet and everything. Okay.
And you wore the top
There
today
it
that you
is.
wore with the inspiration that you've got for us right now. No pressure, although I hear a game clock or a game show clock ticking right now.
Dun, 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 dun. It's important to relax. It's important to take time to just be. This is a big lesson for me. It is important to find comfort and calm within you too.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
time, and that's what will rebalance and let go of any stress. And that happens to be inspired by this particular card, which is the lepidolite. Let's see, is that better? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see even some of the phraseology that I just mentioned. And the affirmation is meditation and quiet are a regular part of my day. I allow balance to return to my life. Nurturing energy surrounds me. I attract inner peace. And that is matching essential oil is clary sage.
Ah.
So just in case anybody needs an essential oil that will calm their petunias, that will calm their petunias. Inhale some clary sage, but that is about relaxing and taking time to rest. And I actually just today, for the first time, added on my things to do list. I always have a things to do list, and it literally, one of the bullet points is rest.
Margaret Ann Lembo, a very sage reminder on the show. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. It was good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.